Hey everyone, the following video is going to talk about something called SEO or search engine optimization. Search engine optimization means that your site is optimized for Google search engine or others like Bing and such, DuckDuckGo or whatever, that you will show up higher in the rankings. Like your goal is to be, when someone searches for whatever your site's about, for example, when someone searches for Apple Computer wants to be the first site that shows up. Um, Now, obviously, Apple's going to show up because they have such a large user base, which helps them show up a lot. So many links to their site. And you're not going to be able to compete with an Apple. But what you can do is you can show up as number one when someone searches for whatever your site's about. Like if you search my name, Ray Pastore, I'm going to show up as number one because I've done a few things on my site to help with that. Okay, so let me talk about how you get your site. So first of all, I want to say search engines like Google, they don't tell you what their algorithm is. So you don't really know how to become number one. They don't just tell you it, but they do give you a lot of tips. And the tips aren't much different than their algorithm. But their algorithm is highly classified and secret by their company. Heavily guarded secret, I should say. Okay, so the first thing, content is king. Content on your site is the biggest factor that determines where your site's going to show up. If you don't have any content, your site's just not going to show up. It's not going to show up well in the search engines. Content is king. The more content, the more you're going to show up. So if you have a blog and you want people to go there, you got to post all the time. You might not have any readers for the first 10 months. Then all of a sudden, it slowly starts to pick up. And the main reason for that, too, is it takes a few months sometimes for the search engine to index your page really well. I mean, it can happen immediately, much quicker, but usually it takes a few months. All right, two, we get into organization of your site, which is really the next thing you can do besides content. Okay, so there are a bunch of site analyzers. I love Widexel, Widexl. This site goes through and analyzes your site and tells you what you can improve. For example, I just ran my site through their SEO analyzer. And you can see it goes through, gives my site a score of 52 out of 100. This is a site I'm not that concerned about because I'm showing up as number one. But they give you recommendations on things you can do. For example, they're telling me my site doesn't have a description, so add that in. I'm going to talk about what that is in a minute. But it goes through and basically analyzes your site for you. Very cool tool, and it's free to use, takes 1 second. I can do apple.com and see what their SEO. I can use it to do any site. Very cool site. All right, so use one of those sites to get you started. 3, your tags. Your tags used to be super, super, super important. They're not as important anymore because everyone kind of found ways to trick the system. So like back in the day, I could add a bunch of keywords to my site and show up as number one, even if my site didn't have anything to do with those keywords. Not the case anymore. Okay, so the way tags work is these are basically pieces of code that you stick in your heading tag. So where your title goes in an HTML page in between the two header tags, this is where the keywords, the tags go. And I have each of the codes, what they are. Like for description, here's the code for description. You would copy this piece of code and put it into your title, into your heading tag, and you would obviously change you describe your site here, you describe your site. So first of all, I have keywords. Keywords used to be it. They were the it thing. You had keywords, you were in there. You were number one, first page of Google. Now, search engines, we don't know this for sure, but they don't really look at the keywords whatsoever. It's nice to include it, and you should have it in there, but they don't really look for it. The big thing is they're not using them anymore. All right. But keywords would be, what are the keywords of your site? Description, describe your site. Could be a sentence or a paragraph. Who is the author? We have another tag, another meta. And then we have something called meta name robots index follow. And basically what I'm saying there is, hey, Google search engine, go to my main page, which is my index page, and follow all the links from there to index the rest of my site. And those are some main things. I can also add a title to my page, which helps with that as well. And the more those things match the content on your site, the better Google likes it. Okay, 4, a sitemap. What is a sitemap? A sitemap is basically one page that has all the links of your web page. One page that has all the links of your web page. So it's very easy for the search engine to find your page. 5, and this is something that's really big and hard to do too, having other people link to your site. The more people that are linked to your site, the higher you show up in search rankings. This is why you see spammers like going on forums and you see like pharmacy, blah, 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 like something no one would ever buy. And you're like, well, on this site, why are they just spamming this link? They're not spamming the link so you click it and buy their product. They know you're not buying the product. They're spamming the site so that they show up higher in Google search engine rankings. That's why they're spamming those sites. So the more sites that link to yours, the better, which is also why a company like Apple has a bazillion links to their site from every reviewer and all sites across the internet. That's why they will show up as number 1. It's one of the most important things. 6, your code. Your code. Make sure the code on your site is clean. For example, not using tables but using CSS. Better code equals higher ranking. Clean code. So some rules for code. Don't let Dreamweaver write your code or another piece of software because they add some things in sometimes that aren't the best. Don't use internal CSS. Use external CSS. Same with JavaScript. Use external JavaScript. Debug your code in Dreamweaver. Make sure that's, correct. And the biggest thing that Google really, really hates is when you try to hide things in your page. So what some sites used to do is they would add in a whole bunch of content to their page that didn't really show up on the page. It was just in the code. So they were hiding things in the code so the search engine would like them better. And then make sure links that you're linking to, like on your page and external pages, make sure they all work. Make sure they all work. So I've given you a bunch of samples. You can probably find a few more things you could do throughout on the web. But really no one knows the exact method. What we do know for sure, content is king. People linking to your site is the next big thing. Those two are just huge. After that, you have your site organization, like making sure you have your meta tags in your heading, making sure that your code is written well, making sure you're using external CSS and JavaScript and things like that. But that's how you improve search engine optimization of a page. And if you are developing a page professionally for a client, they're going to expect this. Thank you.